Hello, so thank you for coming back to my channel. In this video, what I'm going to be showing is how to make my Instant Pot Pinto bean soup. It's also called Frijoles Pintos. And this recipe is based off of my mom. She would always make this for us growing up, but she would make it on the stovetop. And now that I have an Instant Pot, it definitely makes life more easier. Now that I have less time, I am a student. And yeah, so I'm just going to show you my take on that, my version as well, because traditionally that will have animal products. This one, it's animal product free, it's completely vegan, there's no oil, there's no salt. So let's get into that. I'm going to show you how we make my Instant Pot soup. What I'm going to do now is the Instant Pot's on, it's on saute, it's been heating up. I like to saute this and my tomato first, just so that it can soften up. And then after these two have kind of cooked down a bit, I'm going to add my garlic. Because you don't want to add the garlic first, because garlic burns easily. And the juices released from the tomato and the onions are going to prevent the garlic from sticking and burning. And I use a whole onion. You don't have to use as much, but I love onion, and I would rather use a whole thing than just save half of it. I'm just cutting up my tomato. I don't have the best chopping skills, and I'm also using some pretty blunt knives, which you shouldn't do, but that's my life. But at the end of the day, this is just all gonna kind of cook down into the soup. It doesn't need to look perfect. And I use 2 tomatoes. Sometimes I'll use 3, it just depends what I have, but I at least like to use 2. And to kind of offset that, or I like to at least use 2 whole fresh tomatoes that I chopped up, and then I'll add in a can of diced tomatoes, which I'm gonna do today. And let's just say you don't have any good fresh tomatoes, you can totally use just pure canned diced tomatoes. That'll work too. And these are very juicy, so I'm just giving those a stir because I don't want them to stick. So I've already pre-made some salsa verde, or green salsa, which I show in one of my previous videos, in the gordita video. I'm just gonna add some of that, and then I just like to saute with the salsa because it just kind of brings out that extra flavor of the salsa, and I think it just enhances the soup. So while that's cooking, I'm gonna chop up my garlic, and so I used 7 cloves of garlic, which may be a lot for some people, but honestly I feel like garlic makes the difference. It just adds that flavor, and then it's like the backbone of the soup, I feel. Well, apart from the bean. And like, these are just, like I said, I could probably have minced this more finely, but it's okay because I feel like just cutting up the garlic, you release those juices and you just get the flavor in the soup, which is what you want. And I don't mind biting into larger pieces. For people who don't like that, you probably want to chop it more finely, but we don't have a problem with garlic in this household, so I don't have to worry about it. That's all chopped up, and yeah, so I just used fresh that I peeled. You can definitely do the pre-minced jarred one. I would just watch out with those because sometimes they do add salt or they're in oil, so I would just look for the ones that are in water. So that's a tip, just if you're short on time or can't buy fresh, there's different options. Let's just keep that off to the side. What I like to add to this as well, on top of all the veggies I've already shown, are green bell peppers. And it's interesting because I don't feel like they add any difference in taste to the soup, but it's just like that texture of biting into it, and then the color too is nice. So there have been times where I've like ran out, or I just don't have one and I don't add it. And the taste is not affected, but I think just like visually it just looks nice, and it's just something else. It just adds extra bite. But if you don't like these, you don't need to add them. And again, the chops on this one doesn't need to be perfect. I just kind of get them like bite size. So the onion and the tomato are kind of simmering. And you want to periodically just kind of check on them because we're not using oil. And so you just want to periodically check on them, kind of move them around. Yeah, I was starting to stick a little bit, but that's okay because all you got to do is just add some water. And then whatever's sticking to the bottom of the pan, it just lifts right off. No oil necessary. The great thing about this soup is the smell just fills up the whole apartment, which is not hard because we live in a small apartment. But the smell, it just like fills the area, and it's just a really good smell that you like to have around. So it's an added bonus. And also too, it just depends as for the number of the bell peppers that you add. Sometimes I'll just add one, but this time when I went to the store, I saw that these two were pretty good. And to me, they're good when they're starting to turn up yellow orangish and they're kind of soft. Because when they're like super dark green and they're hard, I feel like the taste it's more intense. When they start to turn color, they're more mild in flavor. So, I mean, nothing wrong with a completely green one. It's just up to you. But this is how I like them. But I just happened to find two good ones. Two are going into my soup. Just checking on my onion and tomato. All right, so I just added a bit more salsa to the onions and tomatoes, which are cooking. And just a little bit more water too, because you know you just need to periodically do that when you don't use oil, which we are doing right now. So those are looking good. At this point, now that I have my green pepper and my garlic all chopped up, I can add that to the tomatoes and the onion. So I'm just gonna add that in. Try to get it all in the pot. You don't wanna lose it. Oh no! Don't wanna lose any of these. Okay, so it looks like I got them all in successfully. Okay, so that's looking good. So we pretty much have all of the veggies that form our base. I'm gonna go just add a little bit more water. Okay, so you want to just monitor that, don't want anything to stick and burn. So next, what I have here in the sink are our dried pinto beans. I have about 1 pound here. I bought the 2-pound bag, but I estimated about half. It's important when you buy dried beans to sort through them because there could be rocks, dirt, just miscellaneous things that you don't want to eat. So rinse them. They've already been rinsed and they're draining here. So these are ready to add to our pot. We've already added our 1 pound of dried pinto beans that have been rinsed. And then next, I'm gonna add a can of diced tomatoes. These are no salt added. So that's what I opt for because I don't cook with salt. So, which there's no problem if you do, but I just choose not to. So I'm gonna add 1 can. This is the 14.5 ounce can. Oh, and I just wanted to say that I have this 6-quart Instant Pot. So that too is something to keep in mind. I wish I could add more beans, but I've tried to do the 2-pound bag, the full 2-pound bag, and there's just too much stuff that the beans don't come out as soupy, and I like them to have the broth. So I've learned from trial and error, 1 pound is about what you want for the 6-quart Instant Pot. So that's in there now. I'm gonna chop up our cilantro. And so here's just a one little bush of cilantro. You want to chop off the stem. Basically all you want are the leaves. This, you don't really need to chop it perfectly like everything I've been doing, it hasn't. But basically you just want to break apart those leaves and get out the juices, and so and release the fragrance of the cilantro. I just kind of do a rough chop. And I know there are some people who absolutely do not like this, and I think it would be okay if you left it out. It would just probably have a different taste, but any of these things, if you don't like one, just leave it out. You don't have to add it in. When I have to make another batch of my green salsa, I will add about half of that, of the little bush of cilantro, or 3/4 of it, and I'll save the rest for my salsa. But I already have that one made, so I just decided to put the whole thing. I have a mason jar. This is 3 cups, so I'm gonna add this to my previous ingredients. And I try to get it to the max line, the fill line that's in the Instant Pot. Kind of says right there. So that's where I like to get my liquid to. So I'm probably gonna need to add another one of these. When I've measured it in the past, it's about 5 to 6 cups. So let's see where it stops this time. So this is another 3 cups. So let's see. It's still under, so let's see. Okay, so actually it was good with 2 more, so 8 cups of water in total then. And me, that's just preference. I do it that way because I actually liked it to be a soup rather than just beans. But if you prefer it to be less soupy, then just put less water. So here's all of our veggies. Next, I'm just gonna put some spices. I think it's important when you make the pinto bean soup to put in some bay leaves. So I like to just put in 3 because that gives it a good flavor. You can put more or less. And then garlic powder. I don't measure this out. Oh, actually this is garlic powder, but it has onion powder. So I'm putting in onion powder. I'd say maybe that's about half a teaspoon. And these measurements, you can just adapt them to what you like or what you don't like. And here's actual garlic powder. I like to put a bit more, even though we added garlic. As you can tell, I'm obsessed with garlic. But I think it makes a difference in this soup. So, and maybe that wasn't a full teaspoon. I'd say that's like half to 3/4 of a teaspoon. And then another game changer in this recipe is cumin. And this one, you don't want to put too much because cumin, it can be a little strong. Don't want to have a heavy hand with that. And at the end, like when this is done, if you find it needs some more, you can definitely add more. But it's hard to take away when you put too much. And then black pepper. Oh, that's all my pepper. So that's all I'm gonna add. Okay, and then that beep is saying that the saute mode is off. It's like a timed mode, so it'll only do it for 30 minutes. So, but that looks to be pretty good. I may put just a little bit more cumin. Okay, and then my salsa verde, I'm just gonna put a little bit more in there too, because I think that gives it a really awesome flavor. When I've cooked without it, I can tell. It's just like the flavor is just not as robust as when I cook with it. I always try to have some when I'm making soup. But yeah, so that's really all that there is to it. So that's ready to go. Now it just needs to cook. And so what you want to do is you just put the lid back on. You make sure that the lid is sealed. So it says sealing, which it is. And I like to just put it on manual. That's pretty much the one mode I use for everything. For these beans, dry, I like to put them for, let's say 29 minutes, just because I like them soft, but I don't want them to disintegrate in your mouth. So you want to be able to bite into it, but not hurt your teeth, but still kind of have substance. So I put them for 29 minutes. That'll take some time to come up to pressure. And when that time is done, we'll come back and we'll show you how those came out. All right, so we are back. The Instant Pot is done cooking. It's been more than 29 minutes. So we're gonna check on the beans and see how they came out. All right, that's looking nice and steamy. All our veggies look nice and cooked. Also look at the beans too. Okay, those are looking good. All right. I'm just gonna serve us up a bowl of this so that y'all can see how the beans came out. All right, so there you have it. A nice warm bowl of my Instant Pot pinto bean soup.